What's going on, guys? The Fat MMA Critic is back again. This time I'm doing my UFC The Ultimate Fighter Team Carwin versus Team Nelson finale, which is going down on FX. It's kind of a Fuel TV / FX card because the prelims, some of the prelims are on Facebook, then you've got 4 of them that are on Fuel TV, and then you've got the main card which is on FX. In the States, obviously. Okay, so there's going to be a couple of the ones that I don't know. It's mainly the one that I don't know is going to be the co-main event, which is Colton Smith versus Mike Ritchie, because I haven't watched this season of The Ultimate Fighter, nor did I watch Tufts the Smashies. And I won't watch any Ultimate Fighters until they bring back something different, because I've got I'm just a little bit tired of the current way they do it. Like, I watched a little bit of the live one and I didn't dig that. I think they need to bring back. I don't know if any of you guys remember. I think it was season 4, and it was the comebacks where they got a lot of kind of MMA fighters and didn't do too well in the UFC. Brought them all back for a comeback season, and the winner of each weight class got a title shot in their respective divisions, i.e. Matt Serra became the champ and beat GSP. Travis Luter got a title shot but then didn't make weight, so it wasn't a title shot, but he lost anyway to Anderson Silva. Anyway, let's get on to the predictions. On the Facebook portion of the card, we've got a flyweight bout between Gerard Papazan and Tim Elliott. I've got a feeling, yeah, this is Papazan's flyweight debut. Yeah, this is becoming a bit of a trend at the moment. We've got a lot of guys who he actually fought at flyweight in King of the Cage, but their flyweight was 135 pounds. So this is his proper official flyweight debut. Yeah, this is becoming a bit of a trend now. We're getting a lot of these fighters that are not fantastic, and they're losing in 135 and they're just dropping to 125 because I think they know the UFC will keep them on, because the 125 division is so, I mean, it's so crap at the moment. I think we've got the next, put this way, Joe Benavidez is fighting Ian McCall, and for sure the winner of that will get the next title shot over against either Dodson or Johnson, whoever wins that. And it's like, fuck me, we've only got like 4 guys or 5 guys that are just going to be constantly getting title shots. That's all it's going to be. But anyway, versus Tim Elliott, I'm going for Tim Elliott in this one. His only loss in the UFC comes to John Dodson, which is a unanimous decision loss. And that was in his debut, considering John Dodson at flyweight is a top 5 or top 3 flyweight. And we've got Jared Papazan, who's losing to guys like Dustin Paige and Mike Easton. Mike Easton's a pretty decent dude, even though he just lost. But anyway, then we got Mike Rio versus John Confer. We got Mike Rio. This is, I believe, his UFC debut. I think he was a fighter on the Ultimate Fighter Live. Like I said, I'm not really too big into that anyway. This is proper UFC debut versus John Confer. I'm gonna go with Kofa in this one. Then we got Ruben Duran versus Hugo Viana. Duran, not a bad little fighter, but not the best, as you can see why he's down on the card. Anyway, I'm going for the Brazilian. I'm going for Hugo Viana. He's got pretty decent jiu-jitsu, but he's a grinder. That's the thing. It's very rare you see this in Brazilian MMA fighters. I mean, all his 6 wins are decision wins, and 2 of them are split decisions. But I'm gonna go with him anyway. That's Hugo Viana. Going on to the fuel portion of the card now, we got TJ Wallberger versus Nick Catone. I'm going for TJ Wallberger. Even though Nick Catone hasn't really looked. I mean, his biggest win is against Costa Philippou, which was Philippou's first fight in the UFC, and now he's kind of finding his way there. But other than that, he's kind of lost to guys like Tim Cador. Never can fight if I can pronounce that dude's name. I know he lost a split decision to Martin Nunes, but he hasn't really looked fantastic. But I'm going for TJ Whataburger. He really impressed me even though he lost in the fight against Brian Ebersol. Okay. Next fight is Vix Pial versus Rustam Kadaev or Kabdalov. It's very hard to pronounce this dude's name. Anyway, Pichel is 7-0. I do like the odd Russian fighter. He's 14-1. Currently on the... Well, it's another one of these Russian fighters, though, that the UFC and... Bellator are having a good time finding these kind of guys with these like amazing looking records, like 14-1, and there's a guy in Bellator that was, I think, 22-0, but then he lost to Rich Clemente, and it's like, okay, do you know what I mean? Who are the guys he was fucking fighting in Russia? But this is again one of those pick'em fights. I think this guy was on the Ultimate Fighter Live. Pichel, the Russian dude, I think he's just been brought in. I'm going to go with this Russian dude. He looks pretty good. He is a finisher, which is pretty good. I mean, like I said, some of the UFC lately, a lot of their undercards have been filled with really crap fights. Really, you know... I mean, I'm not expecting, you know, to get people like Randy Couture on undercards, you know, big name guys, but, you know, these are two guys, you know, a lot of no names, you know what I mean? Anyway, I'm picking Rustam Kadalov, if that's how you pronounce it. It's not really a problem. Next fight should be quite an exciting fight between Johnny Bedford and Marcos Vinicius. Johnny Bedford, obviously, he was on the Ultimate Fighter Live season. I believe he was on the Ultimate Fighter Live season, yeah. Currently, I think he beat Lewis Gildenot, who I really rate, in that final. This is his second fight against quite a talented Brazilian, 20-3, and this guy is a finisher. He's finished every one of his 20 wins, 13 by submission, 7 by KO. He's lost 2 by decision, 1 by knockout. And yet again, obviously, all of his fights have been in Brazil, so we can't really know the talent level, and none of them are names out there. I mean, you know, none of them at all. But anyway, you know, the guy's still got 20 wins. But whatever. It's quite a hard one for me because I kind of want to go with the Brazilian because every one of his fights that he's won, he's finished them all, and quite quickly. But Johnny Bedford is kind of a bit of a grinder. I mean, he's got a good finishing rate. I mean, he's finished 14 of his 18 wins, which is pretty damn good. But he has got 9 losses, 8 by submission, 1 by knockout, and this guy does look pretty good on the ground. So I'm going to go with Marcos Vinicius. Next fight, and the last on the Fuel TV portion of the card, we have Mike Pyle versus James Head. I'm going with Mike Pyle. Now we go on to the main portion of the card. We've got Dustin Poirier versus Jonathan Brookins. I'm going for Dustin Poirier. I'm not giving a big look into this because it's pretty cut and dry. Dustin Poirier is very talented. I know he's coming off that loss to Chan Sung Jung, but if you look at his record before, you know, he has beaten some pretty decent guys in that particular weight class. And we've got Jonathan Brookins, who won the Ultimate Fighter Season 12, then lost to Eric Koch when he went back to featherweight, then beat Wagner Rocha, which is, you know, not really a big name, then lost to Charles Oliveira. Yeah, he's losing to the guys he should be losing to. Unfortunately, this is going to be another loss for him. Okay, so let's get on to the next fight. We have Melvin Gillard versus Jamie Varner. I'm looking forward to this fight a lot. I really am. We've got Melvin Gillard, aka this dude just will lose to submissions in every fight. Obviously, other than when he's fighting Donald Cerrone, where he gets knocked out, and I predicted he was going to get submitted. Yeah, we all know. Listen, I'm gonna give you some stats right here. Yeah. He's very young. I mean, he's only 29. He's already had 44 professional MMA fights. Melvin Gillard, yeah. He's 30-11. He's won 19 by knockout, 9 by decision, 2 by submission. He's lost 1 by knockout, 1 by decision, and 9 by submission. So that tells you right there. If you look at all of his UFC losses, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Out of his 7 UFC losses, he's lost 6 by submission. Yeah, and he, obviously his previous one, he lost to Donald Cerrone by head kick punches. Also, Gallard missed weight for that. So, Gallard really, I think, needs to win this fight. Could be in danger of getting the old chop. Because then he would be 1-4 with his only sole win coming against Fabio Camoes by unanimous decision. Considering also he didn't make weight for his last fight, the UFC do frown upon that. But he is losing to top competition in Joe Lozon, Jim Miller and Donald Cerrone. But, just looking at my dog, she's going to start barking in a minute. Anyway, I'm going to have to go... Right, give us a sec, and let me open the door, get the dog out, because she's really making a lot of noise. Hold on. I'll be right back. And I'm back. Okay, that's not really professional, but whatever. Anyway, what was I saying? Okay, so he's losing to the guys, not that he really should be losing to, because he's beating some good competition in that division. Dennis Seaver, Gleason Tabau, Jeremy Stevens, Evan Dunham. You know, he's beating some decent competition in that division, but I think he's always going to be that nearly man in that division. Jamie Varner, on the other hand, was coming off a massive, massive win. I don't think anyone saw this coming when he knocked out Edson Barboza, then lost to a triangle choke in a very, very exciting fight against Joe Lozon. I'm picking Jamie Varner in this fight. I don't know why, but I've just got a feeling he's going to win. Because we've got Donald Cerrone, who's on a slide, man. I mean, since that loss to... The Jim Miller loss really hurt him. Especially because the Joe Lozon was a bit of a shock. Like, wow, he got submitted in 47 seconds. Rear naked choke. Goes out, gets a big fight on one of the first ever FX cards. I think it might have been the first FX card. And then loses in 2 minutes to rear naked choke again to Jim Miller. You know, how this guy's a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, I don't know, but he's a purple belt. He's not really that highly ranked, you know. If he was a black belt, I'd be more surprised. But, dude, 9 of your losses, of your 11 losses have come by submission. Learn some of that ground game. Anyway, next fight is probably going to be the most exciting fight on the card. Pat Barry, Shane Del Rosario. I'm going with my man Pat Barry, even though he does get knocked out all the time and what have you, but he, you know, he's got a couple of wins, a couple of losses that I thought he should have won. Like the LeVar Johnson fight, he should have really won that. The Czech Congo fight should have been stopped. That should have been a win against Czech Congo. And we've got Shane Del Rosario, who kind of looks terrible against Stipe Miocic. He looks terrible. I mean, yeah, he looks good against LeVar Johnson, but that's LeVar Johnson and what have you. Now, I don't know if you do MMA math, but he beat LeVar Johnson, and LeVar Johnson beat Pat Barry. It doesn't matter. You know, stars make fights, and I think Pat Barry's going to knock Shane Del Rosario the fuck out. I really hope, and I think even if Pat Barry loses, I don't think the UFC will cut him. He's such a big fan favourite. Everyone loves him. You know, he's kind of like, I think he's a bit like Forrest and Stephan Bonnar. You know, that kind of thing. Anyway, we got next fight is the co-main event of the evening: Colton Smith versus Mike Ritchie. I don't know nothing about these two. I'm picking a name out of thin air. I'm picking Colton Smith, the American dude, instead of the Canadian. There you go, that's that. And then we've got the main event of the evening, which is Roy Nelson versus Matt Mitrione. Obviously, Matt Mitrione is replaced a injured Shane Carwin. I'm picking Roy Nelson. He's just too well-rounded for him. He's got better submissions. He's got better stand-up. I predict he's probably going to knock Matt Mitrione out, and that's that. Okay, I've got to cut it short because I've only got 20 seconds left before the YouTuber won't let me put any more time out. Anyway, so check out this video if you like it, like it. If you don't like it, dislike it. Tell me predictions in the comments, who you think is going to win and what have you. Until then, guys, enjoy the fights.